2021, a Harley-Davidson Pan America 1250 Special rolls off the lot at $19,999. Today, a clean used one sells for $10,500. That is $9,499 gone. And the BMW R18, $7,295 evaporated just as fast. 10 bikes, 10 brutal numbers. Some deserve the beating. Some are sitting there right now as the best bargains in motorcycling. Let us count them down. Overpaying elegantly at number 10 is the BMW R18. Let us start with a bike that looks like art and rides like a misunderstanding. The R18 base in classic trims ran from 2021 through 2024. New, you were paying $17,495. Today, a good used example is going for $10,200. Do the math, and that is $7,295 gone. 41.7% of the bike's value vanished in a shockingly short amount of time. So what happened here? BMW basically tried to out Harley, and American cruiser riders were simply not having it. This is the biggest boxer engine BMW has ever built for a production motorcycle, a genuinely massive 1,800 cubic centimeters power plant, and the cylinders stick straight out the sides of the bike like a pair of chrome wings. That sounds cool in a showroom photo, but it becomes a real problem the moment you try to move your feet forward on a long highway stretch. For a cruiser crowd that lives for kicking their boots way out front and settling in for hours, that is basically a deal breaker, no matter how gorgeous the fenders look. On top of the ergonomic issue, BMW leaned heavily on factory rebates to move unsold inventory in the first couple of years, and that habit trained the used market to expect a discount before the ink was even dry on new sales contracts. Once buyers know a rebate is coming, they simply wait, and that patience tanks resale value for everyone who bought early. There is also a psychological piece here that nobody likes to admit out loud. BMW built its reputation on the R1800 and R1250 GS platforms, bikes known for long-distance competence and razor-sharp handling. The R18 throws all of that reputation out the window in favor of pure boulevard cruising, and longtime BMW buyers simply did not know what to make of a brand pivot that drastic. It confused the loyalists, and it never fully won over the Harley crowd either. Caught in the middle, resale values had nowhere good to go. Is it worth buying used? Honestly, no. Unless you are head over heels in love with the visual aesthetic alone, the ergonomics are still going to bother you 500 miles into any road trip. The engineering underneath is genuinely excellent, by the way. Shaft drive, gorgeous fit and finish, a soundtrack that turns heads at every stoplight. But sometimes a beautiful bike is just a beautiful bike, and that is where the story ends for most riders. But if you think BMW misjudging a market is bad, wait until you hear about the company that misjudged an entire industry straight into bankruptcy. Are you the kind of rider who has been burned by a great deal that turned into a money pit down the line? Before you hand over a single dollar for your next bike, you need eyes that already know what to look for underneath the paint and the polish. Imagine standing in front of a bike you want, the seller swearing it's perfect. That's where riders overpay by thousands on a $10,000 bike. Our buyer's kit tells you what it's really worth, your fair price, and when to walk away. A wrong bike costs thousands. This kit, just $49. The easiest money you'll ever save. Scan the QR on the right or tap the link in the description. Let's get that bike you've always wanted for even cheaper. Now let's get back to the countdown. Vanishing quietly at number 9 is the Motus MST. Speaking of companies that vanished, this one is a genuine tragedy, and it might be the saddest story on this entire list. The Motus MST and MST-R Sport Tourer ran from 2015 to 2018. American-made right here on domestic soil at $30,975 brand new. Today, a good one runs $12,500. That is $18,475 lost. 59.6% of the sticker price gone on a bike that barely got the chance to prove itself. Here is the thing that makes this one so painful. This bike has a wildly unique proprietary engine nicknamed the Baby LT1, a pushrod V4 that sounds like absolutely nothing else on the road today. It was a genuine passion project built by American engineers who wanted to prove domestic manufacturing could compete with decades-old European touring dynasties. And then the company went bankrupt, just completely folded, seemingly overnight. Think about the sheer ambition of what Motus tried to pull off. A tiny startup based out of Birmingham, Alabama, hand-building a touring motorcycle with an engine architecture more closely related to a small block car engine than anything else on two wheels. Early reviewers raved about the torque, the sound, and the sheer novelty of it. But building motorcycles at low volume with a proprietary engine is an incredibly expensive way to run a business, and the company simply could not scale production fast enough to survive. When an American manufacturer goes under like this, the factory tooling disappears, the proprietary electronics vanish into some liquidation auction, and any owner unlucky enough to crack an engine case is suddenly staring down a very expensive, very useless paperweight sitting in their garage. There is no dealer network to call. There is no parts catalog to order from. There is just you, the internet, and a lot of hope. Worth buying used? No. Unless you treat it purely as a garage ornament you occasionally fire up just to feel something rare and mechanical. It rides beautifully by every account we have found. But one bad crash, one broken casting, and you are permanently stuck with a very expensive lawn decoration. Now from a company that vanished entirely off the map to a bike from a company that is very much still around today, but that consumers stopped trusting for a completely different, much more chaotic reason. Entering the countdown at number 8 is the EBR 1190RX, Eric Buell. Racing built a genuinely capable superbike. The problem was never the engineering, it was the business over and over and over again. The 1190R sport bike ran from 2014 through 2016. New, it's stickered at $18,995. Today, a good used one runs $6,800. That is a loss of $12,195. 64.2% of the value evaporated, almost 2/3 of the original sticker just gone. The parent company liquidated, not once but repeatedly, and each collapse chipped away at buyer confidence a little bit more, like watching the same building get condemned 3 separate times. Nobody wants to buy a $50,000 superbike, wondering if their dealer will even exist next year to sell them a replacement fairing panel or a wiring harness. It is worth remembering that Eric Buell himself is a legitimately respected name in American motorcycle engineering, having built a reputation for unconventional solutions, like frame-mounted fuel and perimeter brake rotors, long before EBR ever existed. The 1190R carried that same spirit of doing things differently, with a distinctive fuel and frame design, and a rotor mounted on the outer edge of the wheel rather than near the hub. It is a bike full of clever ideas. It just landed in the middle of corporate chaos that no amount of clever engineering could fix. Here's the twist though, and it is a genuinely satisfying one. Worth buying used? Actually, yes, if you have some mechanical skill or know someone who does. Several third-party warehouses stepped in after the collapse and bought up massive leftover parts inventories, specifically for EBR bikes. Parts are more available today than most people assume, and prices on those salvaged components remain reasonable because demand is niche. You get true track-ready superbike performance, hand-built American engineering, and genuine road presence for a fraction of what a comparable European machine would cost you. We just went from a bankrupt startup to a corporate legend that could not sell an admittedly brilliant idea to the market it was built for. And it is a lesson every single one of you needs before your next purchase, whether you are buying new or hunting for a bargain. Speaking of lessons, nobody teaches you before you buy. This is exactly why thousands of experienced riders keep a real inspection checklist tucked in their glove box before they ever sign a title. It catches the stuff a 15-minute test ride around the block simply never will. Subscribe right now if you want the next entries on this list, and every future breakdown like it delivered straight to your feed. We are about to get into bikes that are still being sold new at dealerships right now, and trust us, you want to know this information before you walk in and sign, not after you drive it off the lot. Sitting heavily at number 7 is the Kawasaki Vulcan 2000. This next one is not polarizing because of looks. It is polarizing because of sheer, absolute mass. The Vulcan 2000 in base, classic, and LT trims ran from 2004 through 2010. New at $13,499. Today you can find a good example for $5,000. That is $8,499 gone. 62.9% lost on a bike that many owners genuinely swear by. We are talking about an 800-pound cruiser, wet weight, powered by a truly massive 2053cc engine, one of the largest production V-twins ever bolted into a motorcycle frame. For context, that single engine displaces roughly twice what a typical mid-size commuter runs, and it was built specifically to chase the biggest engine wins arms race that dominated cruiser marketing in the mid-2000s. Kawasaki genuinely wanted bragging rights over Honda and Yamaha, and for a few years, they had them. The cruiser market has since shifted hard toward lighter, mid-size options that are easier to muscle around a crowded parking lot or a gas station at a dead stop. Nobody particularly enjoys three-point turning what is essentially a small SUV that happens to have handlebars instead of a steering wheel. Specialty parts for this specific oversized engine have also gotten noticeably harder to source over the years, which scares off casual buyers before they even take a test ride. Worth buying used, though? Surprisingly, yes, if you have the physical size and the confidence to handle it comfortably. The motor is legendary among owners for its torque delivery and its long-term durability, with plenty of examples still running strong, well past the 100,000-mile mark. $5,000 for that much highway, grunt, and presence is genuinely one of the better deals in the entire cruiser world, provided you can actually pick the thing up if it ever tips over in your driveway. Big and heavy just cost this bike dearly on the resale charts. But our next entry proves that sometimes it is not the size of the bike that scares buyers away. It is the reputation of a country most Americans genuinely cannot locate on a map, fair or not. Cracking early. At number 6 is the Hyosung GT650R. This one is brutal, and honestly, it is fairly deserved. The GT650R sport bike ran from 2008 through 2017, new $6,499. Today, a good used one goes for a shockingly low $2,100. That is a loss of $4,399. 67.6% of its value gone. That is the single worst percentage loss on this entire list, worse even than the bankrupt brands sitting above it. South Korean manufacturer Hyosung never quite built the trust that Japanese brands earned over literal decades of relentless reliability and dealer support. Widespread complaints about brittle plastic fairings that cracked in cold weather, electrical wire harness gremlins that would strand riders at the worst possible moment, and genuinely difficult parts sourcing made this bike a nightmare for the average weekend owner, even though it looked sharp and sporty enough on paper and on the showroom floor. It also did not help that Hyosung marketed this bike almost entirely on price alone, undercutting Japanese sport bikes by thousands of dollars at the checkout counter. That strategy moves units in year one, but it also attracts a buyer who is far less likely to pay for premium maintenance down the road, and far more likely to skip a service interval to save a few dollars. Combine a budget buyer pool with a genuinely finicky electrical system, and you get exactly the kind of horror stories that spread across owner forums for over a decade, permanently poisoning resale value long after the company tried to fix later model years. Worth buying used? No. Even at $2,100, which honestly feels like free money on the surface, the constant electrical troubleshooting will eat your wallet, your weekends, and eventually your patience with the entire hobby. A cheap bike that becomes expensive to actually keep running is not truly cheap at all. It is just a delayed bill. Now here is a fun little curveball for you. What if a bike lost buyers not because it was unreliable, but because it looked like it drove straight out of a Saturday morning cartoon? Standing awkwardly at number 5 is the Honda NM4 Vultus. Honda has built some of the most reliable machines on planet Earth. And then, once in a while, they build something so weird that even loyal, lifelong Honda fans do a genuine double take in the parking lot. The NM4 Vultus ran from 2015 through 2018. New $10,999. Today, a good used one sells for $5,800. That is $5,199 lost. 47.2% of the sticker gone on one of the strangest silhouettes Honda has ever put into production. Underneath the anime-inspired, stealth fighter jet-style bodywork sits a modest, eco-friendly 670cc powertrain, the very same heart found in far more conventional Honda models. It was simply too weird looking for traditional motorcycle purists to take seriously, and too bulky and low slung for the typical scooter commuter crowd it was actually marketed toward. It fell squarely into an identity crisis that nobody particularly wanted to buy into, no matter how futuristic the marketing materials made it look. Honda leaned hard into a specific vision with this bike, going so far as to feature it prominently in a big-budget science fiction film franchise around the same time it launched, hoping the movie tie-in would move units off showroom floors. It generated plenty of headlines and curious onlookers at bike shows. It did not, however, generate many actual sales, and the bikes that did sell often sat for years before finding a second owner willing to embrace the look. Worth buying used? Actually, yes, as a genuine collector novelty that also happens to be a dependable daily rider. Mechanically, this thing is basically a Honda NC700X, wearing an elaborate Halloween costume, complete with a smooth automatic dual-clutch transmission that makes stop-and-go city traffic almost relaxing. It is an incredibly dependable daily commuter if you enjoy turning heads for reasons you cannot fully explain to strangers who flag you down at every single stoplight. We have now covered weird looks, questionable electronics, and sheer overwhelming size. But our next bike proves that sometimes buyers reject a genuinely solid machine for the simplest reason of all. Nobody was talking about it. Look, before we go any further, if you are the type of rider who has ever bought a bike and then found the hidden rust, the slow leak, or the electrical gremlin exactly 1 week later, that is precisely the kind of expensive surprise this checklist exists to prevent before you ever hand over a deposit. Picture it, you buy the bike, it looked clean, it sounded great. 3 weeks later, the bills start, a worn chain, tired forks, a service the seller never mentioned. That's thousands gone on a bike you already paid full price for. Our inspection checklist catches every one of those before you pay, walking the bike like a mechanic. Spend $49 now or lose thousands later. Scan the QR on the right or tap the link in the description. Don't let a hidden problem drain your wallet. Let's get back to the video, picking right up from where we stopped. Blending quietly at number 4 is the Yamaha Bolt R-Spec. This one genuinely stings a little bit because the Bolt R-Spec did nothing mechanically wrong to deserve this kind of depreciation. Produced from 2014 all the way through 2023, the Bolt R-Spec launched at $8,899. Today, a good used example runs $4,400. That is $4,499 gone. 50.5% lost, basically half the original value, for a bike with essentially no major complaints lodged against it anywhere online. Yamaha built this machine as a direct shot across the bow at the Harley-Davidson Sportster Iron 883, matching its blacked-out styling and stripped-down bobber silhouette almost feature for feature. The problem here was never the bike itself. It was the culture surrounding it. The Bolt never managed to build an aftermarket custom community, never earned the tattoo shop cool factor that Harley enjoys almost automatically, and simply suffered from low search volume and minimal marketing spend compared to its American rival. Nobody was talking about it on forums or at bike nights, so almost nobody was actively searching for one used, and that silence quietly crushed resale prices year after year. There is an argument that the Bolt was simply born into the wrong family tree. Yamaha already had the V-Star line covering the traditional cruiser space, so the Bolt got positioned as a scrappy, budget-minded bobber alternative instead, competing in a category almost entirely defined by Harley-Davidson culture and Harley-Davidson aftermarket support. Riders who wanted that bobber look mostly wanted the badge that came with it too, and no amount of genuine engineering competence from Yamaha could fully replace that badge in the secondary market. Worth buying used? a big, resounding yes here. It runs a genuinely bulletproof, air-cooled V-twin engine that asks for almost nothing in return beyond routine oil changes and basic maintenance. This is about as close to a worry-free metric cruiser as exists anywhere on the used market today, and it remains criminally underpriced for exactly what you get in return. If a simple lack of marketing buzz can tank resale value this badly, just imagine what happens when an entire brand's dealer network can barely be located on a map in most American states. Stalling shyly at number 3 is the MV Agusta Turismo Veloce. Gorgeous, fast, unmistakably Italian, and an absolute logistical headache the moment that factory warranty quietly runs out. The Turismo Veloce 800 in Lusso and SCS trims ran from 2015 through 2022. New buyers paid an average of $22,000. Today, a good used one sells for $11,000. That is exactly $11,000 lost. A flat 50%, cut clean and precisely in half. Almost like the used market did the math for us in advance. The bike itself is a genuine masterpiece of Italian design and engineering, with a howling triple engine and styling that makes Japanese competitors look almost mass-produced by comparison. It even offered a clutchless SCS variant, an early and genuinely clever semi-automatic system that let riders shift without touching a lever, years before most of the industry caught up with similar technology. On paper, this bike should have been an instant hit among sport touring enthusiasts, craving something different from the usual Japanese and German suspects. The real problem is a microscopic-sized U.S. dealer network paired with a painfully slow parts supply pipeline stretching all the way back across the Atlantic. If a simple sensor fails on a Tuesday afternoon, your bike can sit in a shop for months waiting on a single part shipped from Italy, all while premium Italian labor rates keep quietly ticking away on your final invoice. Owners frequently report driving 2 or 3 hours just to reach the nearest authorized service center, which is simply not a burden most American riders are willing to accept once the novelty wears off. Worth buying used? No, and it genuinely pains us to say that out loud. It is a stunning high-performance touring machine that quickly turns into an administrative nightmare the moment factory support runs dry and you are left dealing with independent importers. Beauty is simply not worth very much if your bike ends up a hostage to an overseas parts warehouse for half of your riding season. From an Italian beauty stuck in bureaucratic limbo to an American icon that scared off buyers with something as simple and as frustrating as a black screen refusing to turn back on. Rebounding slowly at number 2 is the Harley-Davidson Pan America 1250. We told you about this exact bike at the very start of this video, and now it is time to give it the full breakdown it genuinely deserves. The Pan America 1250 and 1250. Special ran from 2021 through 2023. The special trim launched at $19,999. Today, a good used example goes for $10,500. That $9,499 loss represents 47.5% of its original value, nearly half gone in just a few short years on the market. So what went wrong for Harley's boldest, most ambitious experiment in decades? Early production units suffered from genuinely frustrating software glitches, dashboard screens that would randomly go completely black mid-ride with zero warning, and batteries that would mysteriously drain overnight in the garage for no obvious reason. Traditional Harley-Davidson dealerships, built around generations of simple air-cooled cruisers with carburetors and minimal wiring, were suddenly asked to diagnose and service a complex, semi-active suspension adventure bike loaded with sensors. And honestly, many of those dealerships were simply not ready for that kind of technological leap on day one. This was Harley's very first real attempt at a true adventure touring motorcycle, going head-to-head against long-established rivals like the BMW GS series and the KTM adventure lineup. The engineering underneath is genuinely impressive, with a brand-new liquid-cooled Revolution Max engine that shares almost nothing with Harley's traditional air-cooled lineup. But asking a century-old cruiser brand's customer base and dealer network to suddenly pivot toward off-road adventure, riding overnight, was always going to be a bumpy transition, And the early software issues simply confirmed every skeptic's worst fears at launch. Worth buying used? Yes, and it might genuinely be the single best value on this entire list. Harley has since stabilized the software through a series of updates, and getting a genuine 150 horsepower adventure bike with fully semi-active suspension for roughly half of the original price is an incredible performance per dollar deal by any measure. Somebody else already paid full price to work out the early bugs for you. You simply get to enjoy the fixed, updated, and thoroughly sorted final version. We have saved the worst depreciation percentage on this entire list for the very top spot, and this final entry might genuinely surprise you, because on paper it should have been a total, effortless home run for the brand behind it. Closing fittingly, at number 1 is the full circle. Let us take one more look at exactly where we started this video, because it perfectly frames the entire list we just walked through together. That Pan America lost $9,499, and it is arguably one of the single best used buys on this whole list. Meanwhile, the Hyosung lost a much smaller total dollar amount, but suffered a far worse percentage, and it remains one of the absolute worst. The Motus lost the most raw dollars of anyone here, and it might also be the saddest story, an American dream cut short by bankruptcy rather than by bad engineering. That is the real lesson buried underneath all 10 of these machines. Resale value and riding value are two completely different scoreboards, measuring two completely different things. Sometimes a huge dollar loss simply means you just found the deal of your entire riding life. Sometimes a huge percentage loss means you just found somebody else's expensive mistake, discounted down, but still fundamentally a mistake waiting to happen to you next. The Pan America, the R18, the Motus, the EBR, the Vulcan 2000, the Hyosung, the Vultus, the Bolt, the Turismo Veloce. 10 bikes, 10 totally different stories, and only some of them genuinely deserve a spot sitting in your garage this year. If these bikes show you anything, it's that you don't stop riding until you decide to. So don't stop here. Click the next video to continue the ride. Don't forget to like this video and make sure you join our tribe by clicking that subscribe button.